You don't have to look much further than the headlines to know that the media has already decided the narrative for this particular situation. Every time you see Daniel Penny, he is referred to as a Marine, not an ex-Marine, a Marine. It's interesting because he was functioning as a Marine that day on that subway, and he killed an unarmed citizen in a occupied land. He would not be held as a hero. He might be in front of a tribunal. He might be on his way to Leavenworth. It's interesting that in America, you can do to a black man what you couldn't do to a foreigner on land you invaded. You couldn't do that. You wouldn't be held as a hero. And Ron DeSantis has spoken out. He said that he wants to stop this George Soros funded. George Soros wasn't on this train at all. It was two men. It was a lot of people, but two men in particular we're talking about. One is Jordan Neely and the other is Daniel Penny, the Marine. Now, we can decide, or you can decide which way that you think this thing should go. You could decide whether he was in fact a hero or whether he in fact was a murderer. But I will say this, what he damn sure wasn't is a good Samaritan, as he's being currently called. A good Samaritan came across a stranger who was wounded. A good Samaritan came to him. The good Samaritan, he bound up his wound with oil. He took him, put him on his own ass. He took him to an inn. He showed him compassion. He spent money to make sure a stranger that he didn't even know was all right. He took care of a stranger. He took money out of his own pocket. He bound up his wounds. He gave his own mode of transportation. He showed love and compassion to someone he didn't even know. That's what a good Samaritan did. Daniel Penny choked a stranger to death. How the fuck are they the same? They're not the same. You can have your narrative, you can have your opinion, but one thing is clear. What the Good Samaritan did and what Daniel Penny did are two totally different things. You don't get to pervert the Bible in search of a political angle, a political vantage point. Now, we'll see whether Daniel Penny is held liable for what he did or not, but the one thing that is clear is nothing like the Good Samaritan that these Bible thumpers are quoting in the Bible. Not at all. The Good Samaritan gave up money so that a stranger would be all right. He didn't choke him to death. And he also didn't get $2 million for doing it. When you get $2 million for manslaughter or being charged with manslaughter, when you choke an unarmed man to death for 15 minutes, the last thing you are is a biblical hero. That's not a good Samaritan. You get $2 million for choking somebody to death. That is not a reward. That's a bounty. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in a minute. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.